As Hans Olsen has moved on to the corporate world, we're looking for the next great Utah sports radio talent.
There's something for everyone.
While we do that, you get stuck with this guy.
Hey, everybody, here's our star.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's get it, folks. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for this show because this guy has given me so much grief for bad questions for so many years. And now he's on the other side. Joining us now, former Utah State head coach, former Texas Tech head coach, was the OC at Kansas State last year. It is Matt Wells. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How's it going, man?
You ready for 3 hours of this nonsense?
I came to the dark side.
Yeah, you did. You did. How's life?
It's good, man.
Yeah?
Blessed. Thank you.
Well, you got a daughter that's working up at the University of Utah.
Yeah.
And so you're in town to say hi.
Yeah, hanging out with her for a couple days here on Valentine's weekend and going to the meet tonight. Utes versus the Cougs. So she is a sophomore at Utah, loving it, really active in her sorority. And so she's like a student coach
Nice.
for the gymnastics team and doing her thing. And so proud of her. And we actually drove up, Jen and I drove up and watched them play or compete or what do you say?
I compete, I guess.
Compete.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Ames a few weeks ago. So this will be my second Red
Nice.
Rock gymnastics.
So are you figuring out the whole gymnastics world?
Yeah. And so Jaden and Ella, both our daughters, were competitive gymnasts in Logan and in Lubbock. And they both got to like level 9, level 10. I know you don't know this.
No.
You're a
but-
guy dad,
yeah,
boy dad.
Yeah.
Level 10 is like a college recruit. So they were both really close. Ella was really close in Texas, and then she got a stress fracture in her back. So had to retire, and so just loves it and loves helping out. And, you know,
She's got those coaching genes in her.
Coach's kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. She crushes it. She's doing good, and they treat her great. Carly's awesome. All those girls are, and what a great team for her to be a part of. I mean, obviously, they're national competitive every year.
All right, so Coach Wells and I go way back. You and I were actually in college about the same time at Utah State when you were playing, and then covered you forever, then started doing games in 2017. Saw some really fun games in 2018.
Yeah.
We've been through it a little bit, man.
We have. We go way back. Aggie. What do we say? Aggie Brotherhood?
Aggie Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, those were some good days in Logan, and I miss Logan.
Yeah.
I miss Utah State. That's my school. Always has been. Always will be. You know, in this coaching life that I'm living and moving around a little bit, none of my kids were born in Logan, but they would all tell you they're from Logan.
Yeah.
Spent 8 years there total, and then, like you said previously, I had 5 as a student athlete there. So 13 years of my life in Logan, and just love it. The people make that place, and Cache Valley is awesome, and always be an Aggie.
So before we get going here on the show, there is a infamous moment that happened on this radio station that involved you in a weird way. And I know I'm surprising you with this.
I got no idea where
you're
you're going.
He has no idea. Lloyd and I were talking this morning, and you got to get the soundbite because we play this all the time.
Oh, jeez.
But it's actually – so we have an engineer that does our Utah State games and our coaches' shows. His name's Ajay. You know
I know Ajay.
Yeah, Ajay's a great guy. Great guy. Works hard. He will do anything.
Is he still doing
for you.
women's basketball?
He is doing women's basketball.
Little nugget there.
I was thinking about this morning. I usually do about 24 coaches shows a year. Football, 12 for football, 12 for basketball. So this is my 9th year. So it's well over 200 shows. There's only been one time that I've been late for a show. There was a massive traffic accident, and I'm driving from Salt Lake all the time. Huge accident just north of Ogden, and I got stuck on the road forever. So Ajay has to start the show because it's got to start at a specific time. And so I call Ajay. I'm like, and you were coming off, I think you were playing an FCS opponent. It was that 2018 year where you were scoring.
Tennessee Tech. That's
it. Yep.
Okay.
And so you're just wrecking dudes right and left. And so I'm like, Ajay.
I wish we still had them on the schedule.
I know, right?
Sorry, I shouldn't have said. Are we on the air?
Yeah, and we're back. So I told Ajay, I'm like, Ajay, I'm going to be there about 5 minutes late. Just get the show going. I'll get there. I will start the show. Or you start the show. I will come in really quickly. And, look, just recap the game. That's all you got to do. Just recap the game, recap the moment. And, this is what he asked you right out of the gate.
What about punting? I mean, how in punting, how is there – we just see the guy kick the ball. What details go into punting in situational football?
I don't even know where we're at. We're talking about punting. Let's go on to something else.
And we have given Ajay so much grief about that. And I don't think you even punted in that game.
Bro, I know we didn't.
Yeah.
We were at Cafe Sabor. I remember this now. You did catch me off guard with this, and I do remember that moment. Was that his debut?
Oh, yeah.
My man's come a long way since then. He was a little nervous on that question. Nervous, I could hear that in his voice. Yeah, I don't think – did we punt that night?
No, you did not. You scored like 68 points or 70 or something.
The hardest decision I had that night is Jordan Love and the number one offense going to go out for the first series of the third quarter or not?
That was the toughest decision.
Yeah, and I'm not – I mean, that night it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish you had more games like that sometimes, but –
people don't forget about Jordan. Like, you had to pull the reins back in a lot of games that year.
Well, that's what's crazy is I remember at the end of that year talking to an NFL guy, and I said, hey, and he went through the stats, and we were talking, and I said, do you realize that there are probably, and I don't remember now.
It's almost like 2 full games.
I was going to say 4 games, 3 to 4 games where he did not play the fourth quarter and parts of the third quarter, and I think we figured up it was maybe only 10 games worth, or 10, games of quarters, 40 quarters worth of Jordan playing, and his stats were still what they were, which is pretty amazing. Obviously, his sophomore year went on an amazing run, and, I mean, he had a ton of really good guys around him, too.
That team was loaded.
Yeah.
What about punting?
Hey, I would say this.
Ajay, by the way, you should bring up the wind breakdown. Come on, Scotty, why are you stopping there? His breakdown of the weather.
All right, here's another. You remember more than anybody. We had this wireless mic, and we could never get the thing to work, and it was always a mess trying to get this wireless mic to work, to the point where I just got rid of it and we got some new gear. So I'd always do that walk-off with you at halftime.
Right.
And then we'd use it for post-game. Well, we were having issues with it. Ajay goes down on the field. We have no way to test it and to make sure it's working unless somebody's live on the air. So I thought, okay, the wind was picking up in the game. It was that back-and-forth game against Air Force.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to go, Ajay, I'm just going to – the wind's kind of picking up. I'm going to throw down to you. You give me kind of a weather report of what's going on, the conditions down there. We can actually make that a newsworthy bit, and then we can test the mic out, see if it works. And he got on my nerves a little bit, and it got a little sideways. They're running a promotion, and a young lady was down on the field, and her hair was whipping around a little bit. You wonder if the wind is starting to kick in a little bit. Ajay, if you're down on the field, do we have much of a wind at all down there on the field?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of getting cold over here. I'm kind of glad I wore a long sleeve on this field.
Nobody cares about that, Ajay. We want to know about the wind.
Okay, well, wind's blowing east, and there is definitely a wind.
All right, thank you for that. All right, Ajay down on the side, 2:46 left to go here in the second quarter.
Hey, I don't want Ajay to get cold down there, Scott. Maybe we could have him do some wind sprints or something to warm him up.
40-yard dash?
Yes. That 5.7 speed.
Ajay, see that? Yeah, that on-off button. Let's turn that off, shall we? 2:46.
Kevin from the top rope.
Yeah. That little on-off switch. Let's move that off. Let's turn that off. Oh yeah. So good times back in the day.
Wait, bro. Like, were we at home that night?
Yeah.
The wind doesn't come from the east.
I know, right?
And not in Logan?
No, never in Logan.
Come on, man. This is funny.
See? And you think we get paid for this, too.
Hey, I bet Lloyd's got some sound bites of me on some of those Monday morning conversations.
I remember you, PK said something to you, and you came at him pretty good. I think it was something about Daryl Garrettson, and that's not the guy you want. You're like, that's our quarterback. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I'm going to defend my players. I like PK.
Yeah, no, PK's the best.
No, he's a stud. I'm going to take. Those are my guys, man.
Yeah,
ain't none of us perfect, but come on now.
You had a season where you had 4 quarterbacks who had started 4 different bowl games, and they were all 4 on your roster. I mean, you had a knack for finding those quarterbacks.
Those first couple years, 13 and 14, actually 15 too, because Chucky got hurt that year too. We started quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, I know 13 and 14. That's what was cool about those 2 years. I mean, I know the offensive numbers were good. They weren't phenomenal, but we were going through 3 and 4 quarterbacks. What a stretch we had on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, those two, Todd Orlando was the D coordinator those 2 years, and, man, we had some dudes. I mean, the Vigil brothers, Fackrell, A.J. Patali'i, Brian Sweet, Frankie Cetera, who's kicking freaking butt, coaching high school here in the area. Nevin Lawson. And, I mean, there's guys I'm not even I'm forgetting.
Will Davis.
How good was Willie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jalen Davis was a young freshman on that 2014 team, started as a true freshman. Not so good, if you I remember. Well, you weren't doing the radio then in 2014, but like his first series of his career was in Knoxville. Stuck his nose inside on a little bubble screen and got pinned, and that thing went down the sidelines. Not so fast, but I mean, the guy's still playing for the Bengals.
Yeah, still earning a paycheck.
I'm so proud of him. I mean, what a phenomenal career, and ended up making All-American. And I think 2017 was his last year.
Well, the evolution of the in-state player.
Yeah.
And I know we'll get to Jazz here in a bit, but I just love talking ball with Coach. The evolution of the high school athlete from where you started coaching, is back here in Utah, 2009, 2010, around there. 11. Mm-hmm. To where it is now. I mean, we got everybody coming from all over the country trying to poach in this state.
Utah high school football, when I was here from 2011 to 2018, I thought was so underrated. You've got 3 Division I schools in the state, Utah, BYU, and us. Some FCS, junior college. But with the 3 Division I schools, there were roughly, I don't know, give or take, there was low to mid-30s of a Division I kid. I'm not sure what it is now, but, we would get our fair share. The thing is there's really good high school coaching in this area, in this state. These kids are tough. They're blue collar. They're smart. They love football. Just I think of the kids that came to us at Utah State from, if I started naming names, I'm going to leave them out. From, I think, a DJ Tialavea to Tani Fisilau to the Wimpies to the Vigil brothers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Carson Terrell down at Lehigh.
Carson Terrell was a really good get. Like you think of Dax Raymond,
yeah,
and how Dax recruited Carson. And I'll never forget Carson's mom saying, "Why is Dax want him here so bad?" Because I remember Carson could have gone to the Y and UCLA, if I'm not mistaken, and that was who we beat on him. And I said, because really good players need really good players behind them, because that's going to help Dax stay healthier. We're going to play them both, but he's going to give Dax a break, and really just how the reps accumulate during the football season, practice mainly. And obviously Carson played as really young, and then Dax got a chance to go play for the Steelers and in the league for a minute. And, man, I'm just thinking of all these guys that were in-state guys. I know I'm leaving some out. But we had some really good Utah high school players, and I think that we were a developmental program, and we wanted to be really strong and physical, and we wanted to build that program at Utah State from the front 7 on both sides of the ball out. And this state is a front 7 on both sides of the ball. I mean, you're going to have O-line, D-line, and linebackers and tight ends all over the place in this state. Really well coached, great kids, great families. And now, to your point now, I think the nation knows.
Yeah.
And obviously with Utah being in the Big 12 and BYU as well, doesn't that sound weird?
I know, right?
I know.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that.
But like even, the Pac-12 schools or the old Pac-12 schools, which are now the Big 10 schools coming into Salt Lake, I mean, the secret's out. And I know Utah and BYU are battling some big-name brands every year for some of the top players in this state.
It just, it used to be our little secret here for a while. And then I remember Stanford started to dip their toe in the water, and then all of a sudden the floodgates broke open, and then it's like, okay, everybody's here now.
Well, that becomes the problem in recruiting. So in spring, like I know at the end of my tenure at Utah State, the secret started kind of getting out. And so these big-time prospects that are national kids don't just have Utah and BYU anymore. They have UW, and they have Oregon, they have SC, and then here comes some other schools. Obviously, with Kyle going to Michigan, I mean, those boys are going to be in here, right? But what happens is those schools send the assistants in here for a day or 2 days, and they see the top kids, and then what happens, And I used to get pissed at Utah State about this because they would spend the rest of the day going out and checking this kid out, checking that kid out. And then you're like, oh, man, we got more traffic on this kid than we should have because they feel like they need to do a better job of thoroughly recruiting this state. And now that secret is not just the top-end kids, it's 30 kids.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, man, we're on some battles now.
How often would, because you guys were known for developing athletes so well and finding those diamonds in the rough and projecting a kid who was maybe a offensive or a quarterback and you're going to throw him on as a D end or something like that. You know, you could mix and match and find ways to get guys out on the field. How often did you find out when you offered, then all of a sudden he would have train offers coming behind it?
Yeah, well, without agreeing with you and sound like we're patting ourselves on the back, like you did see that. I think we were a little slower to evaluate and trying to be thorough in that process, but we started having so much success with one-offer guys. So think of when I say one offer, I'm going to say it in a Division I sense, a group of 5 or higher. I mean, from Jalen Davis was one offer. Jordan Love was one offer, like Division I. Kyler Fackrell, okay? Nick Vigil. Zach came as a walk-on initially.
Yeah, Zach had to walk on it. It was going to walk on at Weber until you stole a coordinator there.
And exactly.
Borrowed a coordinator.
Borrowed. Yeah. And then Zach's the 2014 Mountain West Defense Player of the Year. You know what? I mean, those two guys, those boys epitomized everything for us. But I think those one-offer guys, we had so much success on those guys. I think people took notice. And, that just obviously that made hard recruiting, landing them a little harder, not the evaluation process.
It feels like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're knee-deep in recruiting and you know what it's like, it feels like in this day and age with the transfer portal that the high school kids are getting the raw end of this thing.
They are, and that's not that's reality. That's not I don't know what the right word is. That's not a doesn't matter. You're correct.
Yeah.
It's not an opinion. I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Because the portal, it looks so inviting, and you maybe have a little bit more evidence sometimes on college video in terms of an evaluation versus a high school huddle tape. But I think the trickle down is unfortunate because I don't think it's in a certain part of the country. I think it's all over the country that the high school signees in terms of Power 4 for sure. And then I would say Group of 5-2 are down a little bit. I don't know the number, but they are down. And so I think you're seeing some FCS schools get some players initially maybe a little bit better quality than they're used to getting.
So does that so G5 is probably getting better high school player, or G4 is probably getting better high school players.
Right, and then you're going to
but then you're going to lose them.
That's that's the thing that's making it tough for those Group of 5 schools. And so I think inevitably you just got to know that attrition is going to happen now. It's even happening at the Power 4 level.
Mm-hmm.
I just know at Kansas State last year, some of our best players had to turn down double and a couple of them triple the amount of money they were making at a Big 12 school, to another league and another school to stay. And, one or two of them didn't. And I think everybody just understands that there will be some attrition. And so you're always looking and keeping that board fresh.
Does it affect how you coach a kid? Because you want to stay on his good side to a certain extent because if this kid doesn't get snaps or he doesn't get opportunities, boom, he's gone.
To answer that directly, I don't think it changes how you coach, well, at least for me, how you coach a kid. I do think, though, that thought comes into your mind in terms of how many reps that kid get or opportunities that gets. Now, quarterback is its own little entity, right? But you're talking about a freshman receiver or freshman running back that you had to pay in the portal or you had to pay out of high school that is a certain financial level in that room. I mean, he's not going to be the 5th running back if he's the 3rd highest paid running back.
Yeah.
He's going to get some carries early in the year. You're going to find out. And so I think it maybe changes that evaluation in terms of how you're playing them.
Do you let I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this, the foxes in the hen house a little bit when you have a lot of boosters and a lot of people that are They already donate at a high level. Now they're donating at an even higher level to try to keep kids around and they go in the NIL fund. I mean, it's always hard to keep those guys at bay, but does that take another step up?
It does, and I think the voice is now something different.
Yeah.
Now, it's not directed only at you as a coach or the final outcome, because I think boosters that invest in your program, A, are friends of the program, and B, have a vested interest in it, but it's no different than business. When you have a vested interest in something financially, you want to see it succeed. And so I think that that's certainly now another aspect of the portal and NIL and rev share in terms of how much they contribute and listening to whether they're happy or not.
Yeah.
And that is so outcome based.
Yeah.
It's results based, and we know that. In college basketball and in football are such in a so much more, I think, now in a pressurized, scoreboard based, results based business. And it's what have you done for me lately, even more because of the money.
More with Matt Wells right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The great Tim LaComb is going to join us, longtime assistant coach here in the state of Utah, as well as host of our Jazz pre-half and post-game shows. Matt Wells, kind enough to hang out with us. You had the perfect analogy for Lloyd, by the way. I thought this was spot on who Lloyd is.
Well, I walk in here for all the people listening. I thought I was going to get to meet Lloyd for the first time ever in here today. I mean, all those years in Logan of just calling in every Monday morning, right, and talking to him. He's like, hang on, I got Hans and Scotty waiting on you, and I'd shoot the bull with him. And now I'm like, oh, I get to come on Scotty G's show. This is a cool thing. I'm going to get to meet Lloyd, and I walk in and no Lloyd. So I was like, this is kind of like Home Improvement. Like, he's like Wilson. Like, all you see is those eyes. You don't even know who he is. Except his voice.
Oh, yeah, he's got that voice of Zeus over there.
Yeah.
Hey, joining us now, Tim LaComb, kind enough to join us. Scott Gerard alongside Matt Wells. Coach, how are you?
What's going on, fellas? What's up, Coach?
Hey, how are you, Coach?
Doing good, man. You could move that football, my friend. Impressive. Impressive.
Thanks. You must have watched the correct game.
Hey. See, I was a coach too. I just watched the wins, bro. At this point, I'm 6 years out. Everything was just absolutely, golden. Never a dull moment. Never a bad moment.
There you go.
No, and you're part of that Jimmer freight train, and you've got the big celebration coming up this weekend. I got to imagine it'll be fun to see some old faces.
Oh, I'm so excited. I talked to Coach Dave Rice this morning, and talked to Coach Rose the other night, and Jimmer for a second today. So, yeah, everybody's going to be back, and it's a big dinner tonight, and then the banner's coming down. I also talked to the entire coaching staff this morning at University of Colorado in their team meeting because they're coming in tonight, and they're all good buddies, and I'm going to go hang with them. But they're like, are they really retiring Jimmer's number this weekend? I was like, yes, they are. And they said, they got AJ. Just make sure he doesn't get in, too, because we're already a mess.
Oh, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's not bad, is he?
I saw him the other night against Baylor. I was watching.
That dude can fill it up in a hurry. Hey, I wanted to talk Jazz a little bit with you because the Jazz are under the spotlight a little bit for doing what has been done by every team in the league at some point over the last 50 years of the NBA. Why is all of a sudden the Jazz in the spotlight here?
I really don't know. I think it probably has something to do, David Locke was saying last night, has something to do with perhaps with the fact that he's got to make a statement about it in a couple of days. So, the closest one gets the penalty, but I get, it's hard for me. I've been watching this, as you know, Scotty, for 6 years, doing pre and post, and the number of teams that have rolled through with no intention to win through all those years, Oklahoma City, for a lot of years. I just think it's, it's interesting. It's ironic. But if anything else, it'll galvanize us all. I think, the us and against them has always worked, and the Jazz are coming into their own. So this could actually be something they use.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tim LaComb, kind enough to join us. So, what is your early impressions of watching Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen out on the court together? When you had that sample size, what did you take away from that?
Well, the numbers would say it was a pristine fit. A team that's really struggled to protect the rim, and the team that's really struggled just basically defensively all the way around. For 3 games, really tightened up defensively, and I think you can add, a better defensive player and see the results instantly. I think it gave everybody a little bit of a spark too, having him here. It changed the doldrums of February to something totally different. And then, offensively, it is pretty eye-opening to see what the Jazz are going to be able to do with all the size, the length. But on top of that, the versatility. The league is about positionless offense. It's about being able to be as versatile defensively as you can to switch all that stuff. And the Jazz just, with this move, made that possible. Like, they can pick on mismatches on the offensive end, and defensively, they've got so much size that they can really impact, how a team plays on that end.
All right, so, Coach, by the way, Tim was doing color with me for the Utah State-Fresno basketball game earlier in the week. And we're watching Mason Falslev do his thing. Coach LaComb said that he was Mason's first offer in 9th grade. How about this, Timmy? Matt Wells was his football offer in 8th grade.
Wow.
We saw
the same thing.
Well, the longer that goes, he'll be 7th grade by next year. You know how this thing goes.
Well, I kind of this big.
I'm telling you, I truly, when Scotty just brought him up in the pre-show here when we were just talking, I said I think I offered him in between his 8th grade and his 9th grade year that summer, and I remember exactly when I offered him. It was right after camp, phenomenal athlete, man, and I offered him in the indoor. I just remember exactly where I was and offered him and thought this kid could play safety. I don't know if he's a receiver, but he is an athlete, and I just loved Mason and his family, and he was a Cache Valley kid, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a fight on my hands here in a few years to keep this kid in the Valley here at Utah State. And so I'm a distant or whatever, long ways away. I'm a Mason Falslev fan, and obviously I'm a Utah State fan in basketball, but, man, when I see that dude out there doing his thing, Bronco ought to take him too. The guy ought to play. Yeah. He ought to play both sports. Calhoun wouldn't like me to say that, but I think the guy could play both.
Yeah, I agree, and it was his physicality at a young age and competitiveness that really stood out to me. And everybody told me, "Don't waste your time. He's a football guy," but done pretty well for himself. And Scotty Gerard's always got something to do with it.
Yeah. Well, he's the good luck charm for the Ags.
Well, okay, so there's a lot of, I get asked a lot about the basketball team because this is my 9th year doing play-by-play, and this is my 5th basketball coach. And so everybody's like, well, it's 20-win after 20-win season. Like, what's the common denominator? I'm like, it's me.
You.
It's me. It's me. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But no, we've seen some really good basketball up there. But, you talk about competitiveness. You guys see that in Mason Falslev. Is that like, obviously talent's the number one thing, but when you're evaluating a guy, how hard is it to identify that competitiveness or that toughness when you know that they're probably already the best player on their team, and so they're going to look overly competitive when they're just dominating everybody? Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know how Coach looks at it, but I know from a football standpoint, man, evaluating these kids in other sports is crucial. I loved recruiting multi-sport athletes. And I think of Mason and watching him play basketball. Of course, that was at an early age. I'll give you a good example because Luke, my brother, who's now at Utah coaching the tight ends, Luke's like, hey, I just ran into Covey the other day. And I remember I couldn't have recruited as a head coach Britton Covey any harder to Utah State. Every time he came to, I guess it was Duryea and maybe Craig. No, maybe it wasn't Craig. Maybe it was just Tim's.
I think it was Tim, yeah.
Tim's camps. Like I was in the spectrum. I knew when his team was playing in that summer league game. Like I was there because it was on campus, right? Yeah. Those are free evals, and man, just seeing his competitiveness, you can see it on the court. He ran the show for Tempview. I mean, ran the show. Dax Raymond playing basketball. All these guys.
You pulled Carson Terrell off the wrestling mat.
Carson Terrell's a wrestler. Yeah. Carson Terrell was four-sport. He was a four-sport athlete.
You said it wrong, Scotty. Wrestler.
It's wrestler. Right. Yeah, well, I'm from Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean,
I know,
come on
but
now.
I went to high school in Texas, man. So I get it. I speak that.
But, Coach, were you always looking for those multi-sport guys?
We loved them. In fact, Jimmer was a big-time football player. Now, I need to water that down. It was a very small A school, right? Not small A, as in I meant that like.
Yeah, no, I got you.
I mean that rogue, but no. And so Coach actually went out. He said it was as cold as he ever been, Coach Rose, and wore a beanie and a big old jacket. Stood on the sideline, excuse me, in the snow, and watched Jimmer, do his thing. So yeah, dude, we loved guys that challenged themselves. And our theory was you can always slow a guy down, but it's hard to speed him up.
It's like that dog on the porch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, if they ain't biting when they're a pup, they ain't going to bite when they're a big dog. That just became a sound bite.
That is. Oh, we're going to steal that.
Oh,
no, that's a great line.
Sound bite.
So can you teach a big dog to bite, or is it in their DNA?
I think it's in their DNA.
So
DNA.
if they
Mason Fossov was biting when he was in 8th grade. Like, that dude was aggressive, competitive. So was Britton Covey.
But you probably had guys that look like they're chiseled out of granite, like a Zeus god, but they're not. They don't have the bite. And how hard is it because they've got every other aspect to them, but maybe not the anger or the determination upstairs.
That's why recruiting's not an exact science in any sport. I mean, there's an art to it. And then the other thing is not just that; it's their heart. It's their head, their heart, their guts. Those are things that are hard to measure. And like in my sport, I'm sure maybe the NBA is the same way, but like look at football, look at the NFL. I mean, they've got more money and more resources, and they get it wrong all the time because look at the 30 for 30s, right?
Yeah.
The busts and this and that, because it's hard to measure head, heart, and guts. And when you find one that has enough talent, but they've got those three aspects of those intangibles, and they're at a high level, that kid's going to be successful in sports on the hardwood or on the grass. I guess we play on turf now, or in life, in anything they do in business. And I think that's pretty consistent.
Hey, Timmy, you got some geese by you? What was that?
Yeah, I'm just I'm at a work lunch, and I walked outside, and I thought it was I was looking for Norman Hitchcock. The birds were swarm in the parking lot here. Yeah. So anyway, thanks. That was just nature sounds by me.
I love it, man.
Hey,
I'll let you go.
Being on. That was so good, Wellesley. Thanks, and good luck with everything you got going, my guy.
Thank you, Coach.
There he is, Tim LaComb, longtime assistant coach. They're retiring. Jimmer's number coming up this weekend down at BYU, so obviously that place is going to be hopping. You probably don't want to be the opposing team walking into that firestorm. But I remember there was a night where they were honoring Jim McMahon, and I think you were playing down there in Provo, and that may have gone your way.
That was a good night for the Aggies. Not that I remember. I do.
But you do.
No, Colorado's coming in, right? That's what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas Tech got after them the other day.
Oh, I know. And their coach came out and who I love their coach, and his first comments was, "Well, that was an old-fashioned ass whooping."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, it was. All right, what you may have missed coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. That's Matt Wells, longtime Utah State coach, Texas Tech coach, Kansas State offensive coordinator last year. We'll continue to talk to him, break it down next. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, all right. So, Coach was asked during the break. Lloyd always likes to cater the music and lets guests come up with a playlist. And he said, "What song do you want to hear?" You're like, "I want to hear the fight song."
Yeah.
Now we could also play the University of Utah fight song because your daughter's got it going tonight with the Red Rocks.
Well, what do they say? Blood's
thicker than water. Yeah.
Blood's thicker than water. So, full disclosure, the Utah people can hear me say this as well as the Utah State. I have yet to wear something Utah but you can see I've got red and black on.
Yep.
I'm a supporter to the hilt. Now, Jen wears Utah gymnastics everything, and at some point I probably will because of her.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy for her and proud of her. So I'm still a dad.
Yeah.
Still a dad at heart. So I've got a black and red shirt on here.
I put you in a really bad spot a few years ago when I brought you on when Utah State was playing Texas Tech in the NCAA tournament, and you were the coach at Texas Tech at the time.
I know, I remember.
And you're like, I know I have to say this, but I'm employed by Texas Tech, so
I was in
get the guns up. I guess
it's either a no-win or I was in a win-win, whichever way you want to look at it. But you know what's crazy? So I don't know if you remember. You remember where the game was? Remember where they played?
It's in Bloomington.
At IU.
Yeah.
In COVID.
Yeah. No, there was like 300 people there.
And I think I knew 290 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew the Texas Tech people, and I knew the Utah State people. And I would say maybe outside of the players' families, I knew the administrators on both sides and then boosters on both sides. And deep down inside, you already know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That was the Mac McClung team.
Yeah.
Man, it was a solid team.
Yeah. And which was another little, because he was connected to Smith.
Oh, yeah.
To Chris.
Chris Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was playing for Beard.
Yeah.
At Tech. So,
Yeah. Boy, he got people riled up a little bit down there when he took that Texas job.
Bro. I can't say bro to you.
You can say bro. Absolutely you can.
My man Beard. I knew. I mean, I don't think it was a secret to the people that really knew Coach, but that's near and dear to his heart. That's where he was and was a student and as a student coach for Coach Penders there for a long time. And so I wasn't surprised he took that job because I knew how much it meant to him. But Lubbock and Texas Tech, and rightfully so, they weren't real happy when he took that job.
Yeah.
And they weren't real happy when he came back.
Yeah. No, I remember that one. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You've known teams have been tanking forever. Your Oklahoma City Thunder have been tanking forever.
Thunder up.
I don't know if now's the time.
No.
Things are a little salty with the Thunder right now.
But I was a Jazz fan for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been to so many games in the Delta Center. When I was an athlete at Utah State coming down to Salt Lake, but also the years we were there in Logan. Big Jazz fans.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Donovan Mitchell up to Logan one night.
Yes, that's right.
And got him a jersey, and, man, he was awesome to our kids. I know he's not here anymore. I know that.
Yeah, no, yeah,
I know.
I'm not worried about that.
No.
Royce O'Neal, I think, was also there. George Niang, I believe.
Oh, yeah, those guys were. Yep. That was a good night. That was the 2017, 2018?
2018. I think that was the Air Force. Maybe that was the Air Force game.
With the wind?
With the wind, yeah. The Ajay wind, yeah.
Oh, he was struggling.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Is he listeing?
He will. It'll get back to him.
It will.
But he loves it. Like, he's really such a good dude.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's awesome. But you know what? There's I don't want to say cheating going on, but there's always things that teams will do to get the competitive advantage, right? And
so what's the difference between a Week 16 NFL team that's already made the playoffs and resting some starters?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't the Jazz win the other night?
Yeah, they did. When they were supposedly taken. Yeah.
And they won.
And they beat Miami. In fact, this three-game stretch that everybody's all fired up about, the Jazz went 2-1 in that stretch.
So why is the NBA picking on the Jazz?
Well, there's a couple things here. You want what probably is the answer, or do you want my conspiracy theory?
Well, I think everybody wants to hear this conspiracy
theory. Well, I said this yesterday. All right, so there is an acceptable way to tank, and that is you list everybody on your injury report that they're not going to play. Everybody knows ahead of time that nobody's going to play, and you're sitting them out, and that's acceptable. Nobody blinks an eye at that one. What the Jazz did, they started the game with players and then would rest them in the fourth quarter. That got everybody upset. So who do you think would be really upset about not knowing if a guy's going to play in the course of a game instead of knowing ahead of time? Well, there might be some guys named DraftKings or FanDuel that might be a little grumpy, and people that use those services might be a little grumpy about that. And so look, The league takes a lot of that money.
And coach's decision
Yes.
doesn't rest well with those guys.
No.
That's part of your theory.
Exactly.
You like how now I'm asking the questions?
No, hey,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're made for this.
No, I may be. It's the dark side, though.
It is the dark side. I know you feel a little dirty. You probably have to go home and take a shower after this. Oh man! After all the grief we take, asking
well,
you,
it's like you've had the All Pro here for how long was he here? How long was Hans here?
12 years we did the show together.
I mean, the dude's All Pro.
Yeah.
He's all radio, whatever you call it, west of Mississippi, the number one dude. He knows it. He's proud of it.
He'll
He's
tell you
listening.
that.
He said he was listening today. And I feel like
Love you, dog.
Stidham. You know,
Oh,
like at
stop.
the Broncos, like there's Bo Nix, and they would have been in the Super Bowl. Now here comes Wells on a Friday afternoon, and guys are driving home like, what the hell is he doing on?
By the way, if Bo Nix plays that game, Broncos win the Super Bowl.
I don't disagree.
You hear that, Lloyd?
I agree.
Lloyd's a big Raiders guy.
Oh yeah. Well, Lloyd, who's going to be the number one pick?
Oh,
I think
Fernando, you know this, Coach.
Well, no, I'm just, Kubiak and those boys are going to watch a lot of video and figure it out.
I'm hopeful it's Fernando.
What do you think of Mendoza?
Man, what a surgeon.
Yeah.
A lot of respect, and, man, he's a surgeon. Like, he just carves you up. I don't know how not real flashy.
Yeah.
He's more athletic than you think.
Sneaky athletic.
Sneaky athletic. I used to say that about Jordan. Just sneaky athletic. Before you know it, that QB draw, what a call.
Yeah.
I mean, what a call. But, no, I think Lloyd, really accurate, strong arm. You see him make a lot of throws. My guess he's got a lot of savvy, really good leader. I'm guessing at this, right, without knowing the kid or being inside that building. But just listening, their head strength coach at Indiana the last couple of years, Derek Owens, he just went to Tennessee with hype the day after the Natty. But Derek was with us at Utah State and at Texas Tech, and I remember talking to Derek over the summer about Fernando and just saying, hey, what kind of guy is he? And just that's what he said. Wells, intangibles off the chart. Like everybody loves him, and when you see them make that run and really the stretch for the last 2 years, I mean, he's got it. He's got what I was just talking about, head, heart, and guts, but he's a talented kid too.
It's Matt Wells, former coach, Texas Tech and Utah State, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Joining us now from Spotrac and Front Office Show, it is Keith Smith, kind enough to hang out with us, talking a little NBA. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we appreciate it. So there's a little bit of grumpiness going on towards the rest of the league right now here in Salt Lake City. I don't know if you know why, but yeah, the Jazz fan base is a little salty with what's going on, thinking that there might be a little hypocrisy on why we're getting targeted, whereas the rest of the league has been doing this for a long time. Where are you at on all of this?
Yeah, it's a little bit all of it, right? I think anybody, when it's your team being punished, is going to be a little bit defensive. I get why Thunder fans are maybe a little salty about this. Now, their cries are a little they fall a little bit on deaf ears here, because it's like, really? You need more picks? You need, more guys? Like, what are we doing, with that? And then for the rest of the league, I get it. I think what has happened around the NBA is just people are seemingly bored of what's happening in the league right now and are tired of the tanking stuff. And that has set off this whole firestorm, whether it be fans or media or just, talking heads, whoever it is, as well as some other teams in the league are starting to, really get their ire up about this. And the Jazz are just getting kind of caught in the crosshairs with this.
So kind of wrong place, wrong time here for Utah?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, and let's face it, I mean, some of it is of their doing. I mean, when you are playing games and you're not putting your main guys back in to close out close games, it's going to raise an eyebrow or two. I 100% get why they're doing it. I have no problem that they're doing it. I think it's just what is done in this league. It's things like this, and I think that's where all right, if the league's going to say, hey, we can't have that. The ones I do feel bad for are the fans, because the fans get no break on this stuff, especially season ticket holders. If you buy a single game ticket now, but you should probably know what you're getting yourself into here. But if you're a season ticket holder, I don't remember very many times when somebody sends a note at the end of the year and says, hey, you know what, we weren't really trying to win all that much. Here's a little bit of money back for you. Like, that doesn't really tend to go that way. So I get it from that standpoint. But, yeah, I mean, the Jazz are getting, they got their, I would say, more than a wrist slap. $500K is, it's a lot of money. And, now the league has kind of put it on notice of, all right, try it again and see where we go next time.
When you look at this upcoming NBA draft, is this a draft worth the hassle? Is this a draft that you can say, because we keep talking about the comparisons between it and maybe 2003, do you believe that talent is justifying a lot of teams and their willingness to go down this path?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a draft class that is as loaded as we've had in a long time, especially at the top, whether it be Darren Peterson, A.J. Devonta, Kim Boozer. I know people love Caleb Wilson, Kingston Fleming. I could go on, probably another 4 or 5 guys at least. And that is, why I think teams are really trying to line themselves up for, all right, this is it. And in the Jazz case in particular, they've made it kind of clear this is the last year we're doing this, whether it is the words they've kind of said openly or their actions as far as trading for a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. and committing other future assets. They're in a spot where it is, all right, yeah, we're going to go. Like next year, we're kind of moving, and this is what we're going to be doing. So I fully understand kind of why, they're doing what they're doing and why things are where they are.
Key Smart, kind enough to join us. Not Key Smart. I bet you get that every now and then. The old Indiana guy that hit the three to win the national championship.
Yeah, I always say I never won a national title with a jump shot along the baseline, nor did I make the movie Clerks, because the other one I get is Kevin Smith.
Kevin
so,
Smith.
Much to my sadness that I am neither one of those people.
Yeah, Key Smart. A lot of people. You're probably not popular in Syracuse right now, but other than that, that was a heck of a player.
So hopefully, I am if he's not.
So when you look at where the Jazz are and pulling the trigger on that trade, bringing in Jaren Jackson, just talk about the fit. If in fact Walker Kessler's back in as a restricted free agent, you have him at the 5, you put Jackson at the 4, Laurie at the 3. Ace at the 2, Keontae George at the 1. That's a monstrous lineup. Just how much does that improve who they are defensively?
Yeah, I love it. I think this is, let's fast forward to next October and let's get going, because that is a group that is, there's enough offense there. The defense is phenomenal. I think Walker Kessler covers with the way he rebounds for the things Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't do well, while Jackson covers for Markkanen and the things he doesn't do well. I think Ace Bailey has really come along here. It's been lost a little in the flash of some others in this rookie class, but I think he's really come along quite well as the year's gone along and is a good, active, willing defender also. So I think they've got a lot of good stuff there in that starting group. You get some nice young guys who are coming along well, and developing behind them, and they're going to have enough flexibility to add another player or two as well. So I think this was a great move for the Jazz, and I think this is going to be, the kind of move when we look at it a year from now, and we're like, all right, they're right in the mix, here in the playoffs. We're going to be talking about, all right, well, it really started a year ago when they went out and traded for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Keontae George, his step that he's taken, I think, helped the Jazz accelerate the process a little bit, because you get him locked down, and but he'll probably be due for a max, so you have a little bit of a window where he's still on a rookie contract. But overall, talk to me about what you think out of Keontae George and why he's been able to take this step.
Yeah, just really fun, and it's his efficiency that is improved. I think as a rookie, you saw flashes, but everything was a little wild with him in years 1 and 2 a little bit, and then last year it started to come together, and this year it's really come together for him. And I think that's a good sign, especially with young guards. We don't judge them off year one. I use this example with a guy like Rob Dillingham the other day, who just got traded. Is don't give up on these guys yet. It takes guards a while. That is, the hardest spot in the league to learn is, hey, go out there and all the things you have to do on both ends to kind of spearhead the offense, be the point of attack guy on defense and all that. And I think, now it's settled in. He's figured it out. I think, it's really played well for him to have so much freedom and so much of the leash extended to do his things that, this has been really, great stuff for him. Yeah, a really special player. And I think you're absolutely right. I think his emergence now lets the Jazz say, all right, you know what, we don't necessarily need to go get a guard right now. They'll need to get another one at some point, but all right now we feel pretty good about that guy, and that's why we can invest our assets into beefing up our front court a little bit.
Keith Smith, kind enough to join us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Give me your hierarchy of your top four in the West. I mean, obviously Oklahoma City 1. I would assume you would go Denver 2. What are you looking at with San Antonio and Houston with, in those spots 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah, it's really, for me, it's almost kind of a top 3 with the Thunder, Spurs, and Nuggets. I know the Rockets are right there record-wise, so are the Lakers, the Timberwolves, Suns aren't far off, but I just have more faith. The Nuggets, I'm going to trust in the system and in the stars. The Thunder have been there. And then San Antonio, I'm very curious. In the NBA, my entire life following this and understanding this game has been, you get to the playoffs and you kind of take your lumps in a year, and then you come back the next time around. So we'll see with the Spurs. Is that where we're at, or are they going to be ready to really challenge and make a run at it? Houston, I like their team, but you see problems that they have offensively at times when their shots aren't going in, and now without Steven Adams will go. The Lakers don't play any defense, so I'm not really sure what to do with them. And then the Timberwolves can't put it together for more than a couple games at a time. There's times that I'm like, all right, they're finally there. I'm ready. Let's talk about them as potential, contenders in the West. And then the next thing you know, they, lose a couple games that are real head scratchers. So they're a little bit of a weird team. But yeah, give me the Thunder, Nuggets, and Spurs, and you're probably that. I'm going to pick out of that group to emerge from the conference.
All right, finally, before we let you go, back to this tanking thing. Obviously, Adam Silver's got the All-Star game coming up here. He's going to have to address the media at the All-Star game. He's going to get peppered with questions about this, and there's probably going to want people that have answers or, a response or a plan going forward. I don't know if there is a plan. Is there any way that they can walk themselves back from this and change the dynamics of the draft where they can make it, make teams avoid going down this path?
Yeah, not right now, obviously, right? This year is going to be what it's going to be. You can't really change the rules midstream, but I think he openly said, the competition committee is going to sit down. There was already reports that they're going to talk. I believe their next meetings are in March, so they're going to sit down and start really getting into some of this stuff, and we'll see. I think it starts with, let's get rid of the protected picks that aren't top 4 or aren't lottery protected. That would go at least somewhat towards the way. Some of these other things that people are presenting, they all seem a little too exotic to me. I don't love the idea of, it only will matter, on March 1st, we'll start, counting wins. Well, then teams are just going to, lose before that. So that's always kind of a weird thing. I'm not entirely sure, what that would do here. So I think it's really in a spot where I also have to really question, how big of a deal is this? Because it feels like one of those things where every year or two we get to about midseason and everybody's kind of like, you know what, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Trade deadline's fast. You know what stinks? Tanking. Let's get all riled up about it and get all mad when this has gone on, for almost my entire lifetime following the league. It's been something where I just don't know that it's there, but they're certainly going to do some things to try to fix it. And I just hope they don't go too overboard. And if they do really get exotic, please really consider what the unintended consequences will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Keith, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, and look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
There he is, Keith Smith, Spotrac, front office show, breaking down the NBA. Look, I know, Coach, there's things that people will do or try to circumvent the rules that it's just gone on forever, and I just don't know how you fix it. I don't know. I've heard people say, okay, we'll take the 4 worst teams and then have them have a tournament, and then the worst and then the best of the worst gets the number 1 pick, but then you'd have people tanking to get into that tournament and then getting all their players back on the court and then rolling through that tournament to get the number 1 pick. I just don't know how you fix it.
Well, I mean, are the fans that upset to not go to the games?
I don't think so. I think fans are still going to games, especially here in Utah. Place is still packed.
I think if you're the front office or the ownership of the Jazz, listen to me trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but they're balancing that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is our fans coming? Are they buying tickets? Are they buying gear, right? And all that stuff that goes behind the scenes for them, because they're out to make a profit too, and they're chasing a championship. And if they think this is the best way, it has. Like to everybody's point, it's gone on forever, and this is their way with a young, loaded team to go chase a championship with the draft pick next year. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. All right, so I want to kind of move away from this a little bit and talk some college football with you. As a guy that knows all these coaches, what was it like sitting back and seeing the carousel of coaching going on here in the state of Utah with Kyle going to Michigan? First off, did you even have that on your bingo board, Kyle taking another job?
Nobody did. But to hear him say that, maybe if he had a top whatever, 3 or 4 or 5, Michigan's absolutely going to be in it.
Yeah.
And the interest, it makes sense to me. I mean, they need to clean that program up, and they need to get it on the right ship. And, I mean, Coach Witt and the job that he's done here at Utah is, it may not be national, which it is, but like in coaches' minds, this is an established program at Utah that he has had that is to me, it's the epitome. I mean, they've gone from the league, right, the Mountain West to the Pac-12 and to the Big 12 now, and I mean, toughness, consistency, winning. He's run a good program. I mean, and was so loyal and has been so loyal to this place. And but I don't think anybody had it on their card. But what an opportunity for him to maybe go chase it. The crystal ball.
Yeah.
The guys that went with him, better opportunities for all those assistants, and so it's better for them and their families, and a great opportunity for Morgan here.
Yeah.
And certainly has done a phenomenal job as a D coordinator, and the loyalty that Morgan has shown Utah and the program here. I'm excited for him to get to run his own show. But also there's been a trickle down with assistants at both schools here, BYU and Utah and around the country, but opportunities for all those guys that have improved them professionally, financially, and everything.
Kevin McGivern was your OC when you first got the job at Utah State, so you're familiar with him as he'll take over the offense. He's got big shoes to fill because Jason Beck had Devin Dampier in that offense humming.
Jason did a great job. Coach Beck and what they did on offense with Devin and also Bird, who I know a lot about, Ficklin.
Were you in on him?
We did everything but offer him. I just didn't know if we were going to take 2 quarterbacks. We didn't know for a long time at K-State, and got to see him throw live. Had Coach Kleiman down there throwing live at Muskogee, Oklahoma, about 40 minutes where I grew up. And
he's an Okie from Muskogee?
He literally is an Okie from Muskogee. And Bird's got a bright future. I'm happy for Utah and the fans to be able to continue to see him. I mean, when that kid walks in the room, man, he lights a room up. He's got a great smile. He's got a great demeanor. He's a freaking winner. That dude is a winner. He can will a team on his back, and I know I'm sure he's establishing a leadership role within that locker room under Dampier but no, Jason. Getting back to that, Jason did a great job. Kevin will do a really good job, especially because Kevin, just like we had at Utah State, has a background in QB run game and having that as a big component of your offense. And certainly Kevin is versatile enough to do that as well as open it up and throwing it. And I think you'll see maybe a little bit more of a detailed passing game with them, with Kevin, and because of his background. But, man, what a job they've done on offense the last couple of years. But this place is built around defense and the toughness, and it always will be. And I know Coach Scalley will continue that.
What is about the Utah defense? I saw an interview, George Payton, the general manager of the Broncos, and he had two guys that were kind of neck and neck, and he goes, we gave the edge to – it was Kareem Reed. Yeah. He goes, we gave the edge to him to put him on the roster over this other guy because we know Utah guys. We trust Utah guys, especially Utah defensive players. What is it about what they run that allows those guys to have success at the next level?
Well, I think it's not just scheme. I think it's technique and teaching and coaching. Those guys are good teachers in that defensive staff room, from the D-line all the way to the back end. And those guys have been there. They've been consistent. They've been very loyal to Kyle and to Morgan, but they're getting taught. They're taught. They're tough. They're strong. They know fundamentals. Utah always plays with an edge to them, mentally and emotionally. I think they're smart. They do a lot of stuff. So you have smart, tough football players, and I think that mantra is out there. I think they know what a Utah football player, the DNA, especially a defender, has. And I think sometimes when it's close, just like in recruiting in high school, like you know what that head coach is about and that program's about. Sometimes you're looking for an intangible or something when you have somebody really close talent-wise to put them over the top. And my guess for Reed in terms of your analogy or your quote is something that being here at Utah gave him an edge over another guy.
There's certain guys that when they come into a living room, you're just like, okay, if my kid's a quarterback and you come in the living room, I'm like, I want you to play for that guy. Yeah. If Morgan Scalley comes into my living room and my kid's a safety, I'm like, or a D lineman, I'm like, or a D end, like that's probably where you need to go. There's certain guys that you just associate with certain positions or certain skill sets, and when Utah comes into a living room and says, or whether it's Sharif, I don't know how you could say no to Sharif to anything, let alone as a recruiter, but when they come in and say, we see your guy as an NFL safety or NFL linebacker, like you have to take notice of that just because of the resume that they built.
Now the resume, the guys that have gone through Utah's program, I mean, here I am. I'm pumping Utah up, but it's real on defense. Like that's why Morgan's done a great job of going into Texas and signing safeties. Look what's happened for the last X amount of years. Luther, Coach Ellis, with the D-line, and Colton's done a really good job at linebackers. I'm happy for Coach Swan getting a promotion. But anyway, good guys, but really good teachers, and it's been proven. They've got guys that have gone before them, and you just walk down the halls of that football office and you see their pictures, and you're like, yep, coached him. Yep, developed him, recruited, developed, and coached. And I think that's when you talk about that in the living room these days, I think that's, we say your film is your resume. Well, your past players are your resume too as a coach.
We'll talk more with Coach Wells about this, get his thoughts on the landscape of college athletics, NIL, all of this stuff. He's been knee-deep in it over the last several years, so we will continue that conversation straight ahead. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome on back. You're listening to 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The coach, Matt Wells, kind enough to hang out with us throughout the show today. By the way, Lloyd, I don't know if you have the old hands drop on Coach Wells, because hands would always get really excited when you'd come on. And I know we would play this every now and then, and I think you'd be like, what the hell is this? Where he just yelled out, Matt Wells joins us. Gosh. And because look, you're one of our favorites, man. You were the best.
Well, I don't know why. Well, because you're an Aggie grad.
Well, that's true.
And I've known Hans forever.
And Hans has those Aggie ties. I mean, he's got Rock.
Yeah.
They're Rock's on the mission, but committed to
Matt
Utah
Wells
State.
joins us.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. With Phil and Merlin, Uncle Phil, Merlin. Yep.
You probably had to take a phone call from Phil every now and then.
Yeah, Phil's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great Aggie.
Yep. All right, so we were talking about Kyle going to Michigan, the domino effect. You were running offenses in the Big 12. You've been in the Big 12 for quite some time. When you look at what Jay Hill was able to do defensively, what really jumps out at you there?
The biggest thing I see about Jay is what they do in the back end. And then he's got a really sophisticated third down package, always has, and tweaks it week to week. And I know that he can give a quarterback multiple looks, and he does a really nice job. And I think it's in the disguise. So what they do in disguising coverage and, disguising zone, playing man, or a combo coverage, man on one side, zone on the other, or looking like it's man and giving man eyes, and then at the snap, bringing a semi or a pressure, a zone pressure, and putting his guys in really good position. So I think he's creative, and he throws a lot of stuff at you in the red zone and in third downs and in critical downs like that.
So you throw him in the mix at Michigan with that talent pool. Just how good could that defense be?
Yeah, you have Kyle Whittingham and Jay Hill and that staff and those guys. I would assume that they're going to be really good.
Yeah. when you saw BYU, like you've been up against BYU for so many years, you competed against them. In fact, you were a part of the old 58-56 game up in Logan.
I held a clipboard that day. There was a lot of offense.
That was Anthony,
there was a lot
wasn't
of it was Anthony Calvillo.
Yeah.
And help me, John.
John was it Evans?
I'm trying to think of the quarterback at BYU. He threw. I think Anthony threw for just under 500, and I know Tyler Anderson was the receiver,
yeah,
right?
And he had
a kickoff return for a touch and a long touchdown. I know there was one stretch right there where I think we scored, and then Anderson took a kickoff return back for a touch, and then we scored on an 80-yard pass. So it was like 3 straight scores in that game, but it's 58-56, like 1,200 yards total offense, and the goalpost came down.
Yeah.
So that was a great day in Logan.
So you've been around this rivalry for a long time. What was different about what Kalani built this year or the last couple of years that have really competed well in the Big 12 as opposed to what you've seen from BYU in the past?
Well, first of all, they've had really good quarterback play. And so I think that's consistent with any team that's going to make a deep run.
By the way, John Walsh.
There we go. I said John.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't John Beck, but
no, that's what my first thought.
Yeah, he's a little younger. We're getting a little older here.
Yeah,
aren't we?
I know, right?
Yeah, no, I think it starts with quarterback play, and then they've always had a solid run game, and then you put together a really good defense, and that's been the recipe for success for Kalani, and I'm happy for Kalani. Kalani's a really, really good friend. We played against each other, and we've coached against each other as coordinators and then as head coaches, but. Man, what a good friend, and there's good guys on that staff. I mean, I can't stand that logo, like everybody knows, and I'm not ashamed of it. But the people within that building, from A-Rod to Fessy to TJ to Coach A to Kelly to all the guys that I know, and I left a couple out. Man, they're good friends, and they're freaking really good coaches. And those guys are coached well. They're tough. They're disciplined. No different than Utah, right? Which is why you get similarities in those programs of both of those teams. And so, but it doesn't surprise me what Kalani's done, and I'm happy for him.
What are we at a point now where you can be a freshman and still play at a high level? Like we saw what Bear Bachmeier did last year, and we're like, oh my gosh, he's a freshman. He's able to do that. Is the coaching so good now in high school and the preparation for a kid that we shouldn't be so surprised when a freshman is able to play at a high level?
Well, I think that depends on where they come from, and I'm not going to pretend to know Bear's situation because I don't know it. But man, let's point it right at Aaron Roderick.
Yeah,
I mean the guy came in May.
Yep.
Early June.
Yep. Played spring ball at Stanford. Yeah.
And then he had to come in and learn a new language and a new offense. And so, man, I pointed at those guys. Those guys got him ready to play in 3 months, and he played at a really, really high level. So whether it was the training before, I'll tip my hat and throw a salute out to the training at BYU. And what a great job by those guys getting him ready to play at a high level in the Big 12.
Because I watched McKay Hillstead win his 1 year at Utah State, and I thought, okay, well, McKay Hillstead's a good quarterback. When Jake Retzloff decided to go to Tulane, I'm thinking, okay, they'll be okay because McKay Hillstead's a good quarterback. No way in a million years did I think that Bear Bachmeier would have that job. And to be able to take it over and play as well, I think you're right because you look at the resume of Aaron Roderick with what he built with, Zach Wilson and Jaron Hall, and you go down the list, like quarterbacks have really flourished underneath him.
He's done a really good job. I would say maybe quietly from a media standpoint, maybe because you don't read about that, but like as coaches, we see and we know, and you know who's coaching them. And so I tip my hat to him, and he's done a really nice job. And that is twofold, okay? Let's not say it's all development. It's recruiting and it's development. And so he's done a nice job of bringing the right guys in and developing. But then you also have to scheme and call plays around those guys' abilities, but not just their abilities, but what can you do to protect him, and what do you have on the outside, and what kind of running game do you have, and all of those issues that you have, not just in preseason and summer camp, but you have to adapt as you go throughout the season. You have to have enough versatility and flexibility in your offense to adapt in your personnel groups on offense, depending on injuries and depending on who's playing well and how you have to get guys the ball. But man, I I've always been impressed. But those are good guys and good friends. But man, they're good coaches.
Well, the thing too is, when they had an issue with some offensive line a couple of years ago, and they brought in T.J. Woods, and I said, look, there's certain guys where they walk in a room and you know exactly who they are. T.J. Woods walks into a room, that's an O-line coach.
Yeah, he's not going to be mistaken for a receiver coach.
No,
guy.
That dude, and you hear him talk, and you hear him just take over a room, and that big personality, that big voice, you're like, yep, that's an O-line guy right there.
TJ's a really good football coach. He's a phenomenal dad and a husband and a person, but, man, he is a really good coach. Those guys always have an edge to them. They got a toughness to them, but they're smart. He teaches in a concept-based teaching progression. It makes sense. It's easy for those guys. And I say easy, not easy to learn, and there's a lot to it. It's not elementary by any means, but he makes the hard simple. And I think that's the essence of coaching at every level, is to make the hard and the complex simple. And TJ is a phenomenal teacher, but he can inspire those dudes, and I think they take his personality and they play with an edge.
I want to get your thoughts. I'll go back to Morgan a little bit. When you took over at Utah State, you've been around the game for a long time, but that was the first time being the guy. How hard is it to make that step, to have all the dopey media guys out there that want to chat with you and all these other obligations, especially now when you throw NIL and all the fundraising, extra fundraising you have to do? How hard is it to take that step from just being the lieutenant to being the general?
Well, you don't know until you don't know.
Yeah.
And, man, it's so hard to even fathom as a coordinator. Now, I would say different from me. Morgan has, probably known he was going to be the next head coach here. And so I would think mentally and emotionally he was preparing for that a lot more than I was. All I was worried about is that Gary didn't fire me and that we scored enough points on offense in 2012 that I was going to keep my job. And also, we had to find a way to beat Utah in that second game of the year because I knew how important it was to Coach A, and we did. We found a way to win in overtime there in Logan. But that transition going to a head coach is different. You're not you're not just giving ideas and suggestions. Now you're the final say. And when you move one seat, as we say, one seat from the edge of the table to the end of the table in that conference staff room, it's different. And I remember thinking so many times, Scotty, like, the head coach has to make that decision? Why can't somebody else do that? And I got to, and then the other thing is a mentor of mine told me this once. He said, Matt, when you become the head coach, just like whether you're president of a company or CEO of a company or a manager or general manager of a company, any level of business, oftentimes when people come to see you and they have that knock on the door, they've prepared that opening line and they're waiting for the right time to come into your office, and it's probably their most important conversation of the day, and it's not yours. But yet you have to make the time and the effort and be where your feet are and in that moment, because those are not just are you answering a question or solving a problem. If it was easy, they wouldn't walk in there. And if it wasn't important to them, they wouldn't walk in there. But yet that's also leadership. Man, those are important moments that, man, there's no cliff notes and there's no training ground. Like football coaching is different. You don't get, there's not an apprenticeship to be a head coach. And if you become a head coach at an early age, then you can kind of learn and work through problems. And I guess I was still young, at 38 at that time. But, man, you just have to kind of figure it out on the run. And I would just say be you, be your personality, be who you are, and be confident in how you've been trained and who's trained you. And, man, he's been trained by one of the best.
But he's also not Kyle. And so, trying to, because you want to be like, well, I'm taking over for this guy, this big personality that's been here for 20 years and have had all this success. And I got to imagine you think, I need to be that guy. When in reality, no, you need to just be you.
Yeah, my guess is that he will continue to do a lot of the things maybe programmatically very similar or exactly the same, because he had a hand in developing it too. And I can feel that because that was the transition that I had at Utah State. I was a part of helping transform and being a part of those programs, whether it's recruiting or offense or whatever. And so you keep same as, and then I think there's going to be opportunities for him to put his stamp on it and his personality, and man, he'll be just fine. He'll put his stamp on it and his personality, but you do need to be you, because if not, the players will see right through you. and you need to be who you are and be confident in that. And that's helped propel him throughout his career, and it's going to help him become a really good head coach.
So that leads me about another thing about talking about kids can see through you. There's this generation is getting a bad rap from us older guys. We're like, oh, they're entitled, oh, they're immature, and I would never do that at that age, blah, blah, blah. People forget what they were like at 18, 19 years old. Are kids still, even though they're exposed to different things and social media, something in their lives that wasn't in our lives at that age, are they still genuinely pretty much the same person? Or do you have to coach kids differently now than you did, 15 years ago?
I'm a believer that these kids are no different than they were when I was at Utah State, and that was, 8 to 12 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We had some kids that struggled, and we had some kids that were young and immature, and so was I when I was that age. And then we had some phenomenal kids. It's no different than today. I think these kids, if they're raised the right way or they're in the right high school programs, they have something to them. And I think that the aspect of money and the rev share and the NIL, which I think is really good, but I think money can bring out the worst in some people, and sometimes it's not those kids and it's the people around them, and it's the people in their ear and influencing them. And no different than it was a long time ago. It's just about something different now, and that different is money. And I'm not saying it's not a little thing. It's a huge thing right now. But I still think there's a lot of kids out there still playing for the love of the game and going to chase dreams of the NFL and being a great college player, and then maybe getting paid someday to do it in a bigger way and the stage in the NFL. And so I think you can still come alongside, and I think you can mentor and still be a big part of their lives, as well as I think there's still that role for the coach that can help them get to the next level, help them chase their dream as far as they can chase it. And so there's still a need for that in terms of coaching. But I think there's so many good kids that are still in it for the right reasons.
I love it. Coach Wells joining us, Matt Wells, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we'll continue to talk a little bit more college football. Bryan Fischer will join us at 2:05. We'll chat some ball with him and talk about the landscape of not just the college football ranks, but the NFL as well. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
KZNS-AM Salt Lake City and KSL-FM HD2 Salt Lake City Midvale. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends. Nice. This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Bryan Fischer is going to join us coming up here in a moment from Sports Illustrated, covering college football and college athletics overall, as Matt Wells, former coach at Utah State, Texas Tech, hanging out with us as spring ball's just around the corner. Are you a fan of the one window for the transfer portal?
Well, I am now for coaches in terms of roster management. What a juggling act and a joke that was to have two of them. And, okay, so you get through this first January portal time or December portal time, what it used to be, and then you're like, okay, I think we have this roster unless so-and-so leaves in April, right? And the next, and then you had to re-recruit your players a whole nother time. And so that – and add players at that point, and then spring ball's over. And so we got to get the calendar right. I say we, college football, that, and every coach has echoed that pretty much. I'm not the first to say it, but the calendar has got to get under control.
Well, Bronco was talking about the fact that Utah State's academic calendar starts early in January, and so with the normally he said I'm all about the one window, but he said our classes start so early that we've got to find a way to – we essentially have 72 hours to try to find a way to get people on campus and then get them into classes because it's nearly impossible.
Well, and that's going to be that's not going to be the same for everybody, different than the NFL, right? You have – I know Utah and Utah State both start early, and like Kansas State, where I just was, is not start until January 19th or the 20th. And the key to that is not just when the window is – the key to what he's probably referring to is getting kids into class.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the drop add date is a week later, and then you're going to ask for grace. You're going to ask professors and deans and things like that for grace for these kids to get in because they're coming in just a little bit later. And so that's a real thing with it. But even at that, we got to get the calendar and the playoffs and all, and this has got to be a little bit less chaotic.
Yeah, no doubt. Bryan Fischer joins us. Scott Gerard alongside Matt Wells, former coach at Utah State, Texas Tech, and last year at Kansas State. Bryan Fischer from Sports Illustrated with us. Bryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Staying busy, that's for sure.
Well, there's never a dull moment in your world. Do you feel like there's any movement whatsoever? I saw that a bill's getting introduced, but are you feeling like there's any momentum at all for putting guardrails up with the NCAA and any help from Congress?
Oh, that's a $1 million question at this point. I think you talk with folks that either have been in the Hill or even folks on the Hill itself, and directly connected to a lot of senators out there and a lot of representatives, and there's some optimism, I guess, but I feel like we're almost kind of to the point of no return. I mean, a lot of these, a lot of folks are already, thinking about the reelection campaigns and what they're going to do for the next couple of years. So there's a lot going on in Washington, and I, wrote a column of this yesterday after the Trinidad Chambliss ruling. The NCAA really needs to kind of stop thinking that this is going to be a savior at some point in terms of Congress, and start doing what they can to really control what's in their purview. Because at this point, I think it's almost going down, road that is going to be difficult. And I understand that a lot of people in Congress are saying the right things, and they're promising a lot of things, and we've had certain bills get out of committee and even come close to reaching votes. But at this point, in terms of actually getting that over the line, getting an actual bipartisan solution, I just don't sense that we're any closer to that actually happening and transpiring than we were 6 months ago. And so I think for a lot of leaders in the NCAA, that's probably not what they want to hear, but that's kind of the state of play of things right now.
With Trinidad getting that extra year, what do you think of Ole Miss?
Oh, I think it's huge for them. Obviously, you look at their schedule, in the first month alone. I think you look at that, and it's not just the opener against Louisville. You want to have a veteran quarterback, and with so much change, obviously a lot of new coaches coming in there, especially on the offensive side of the ball. For Pete Goling to kind of turn this team over, to Trinidad, and he's a very gregarious young man. You can understand why he is a leader on that team. I think it was huge for that program, and that's another team, in the mix, certainly in the SEC. I don't know if they're going to be quite as good as they were last year. We can certainly see how that evolution occurs. But when you got a guy like that, opposing defensive coordinator's got a game plan consistently for every week, you can win a lot of games. And I would imagine Ole Miss is going to be right there in the end, having a pretty similar season to that they just had last year.
In talking to Coach Wells here, we were talking about Morgan Scalley and what it takes to go from being a good lieutenant to being a great general, and we've all assumed that Morgan will be great at it. I still believe Morgan will be great at it, but just how much expectations should we have, realistic expectations for the first year or two with Morgan as the head coach?
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I do think this is a transition that has been certainly in the works for a long time. He's really been preparing for this role, right? Not just in terms of actually putting it in writing that he was going to take over for Kyle, but I think mentally, he's kind of gone about things in terms of preparing, like, I am going to take over one day, and it can be certainly difficult when you get that elevation, and suddenly you're answering to 20 people are coming at you instead of just 5 or 10, and that'll be the thing. To kind of understand how that process works. I think the key in my mind, just in terms of the program and having success short term is, can you make sure that the recruiting gains that you've made these last couple of years, with the program, not only in the transfer portal, but with those high school guys, making sure those relationships are good, making sure those relationships keep rolling. And that to me is going to be the thing. Is recruiting going to stay at the same level, or maybe even elevate a little bit with some new energy, some new blood within the program? I think that's going to be key, especially given how difficult the Big 12 is nowadays. We all know it's almost a coin flip type of league, in terms of those fine margins. And so finding the right guys that not only fit your culture and fit your program, but can bring something to the table, in terms of the X's and O's as well. That's going to be key for this Utes program under Morgan and moving forward for sure.
BYU is able to retain a lot of players coming back into next year, especially on the defensive side. Asking for another 11-1 season might be a bit too much to ask for, but what are realistic expectations for BYU next year?
Yeah, I kind of went out on a little bit of a limb, when they always ask us, to do our kind of like initial top 25s, right after the national title game. And this year at SI, we kind of did something a little different in terms of actually making our kind of early initial playoff brackets. And, I put BYU in there. I think just in terms of scratching at the surface year after year. And I think that does mean a lot, and especially when you do consider that they are bringing back, so many experienced and veteran guys. Now, yes, there's going to be some holes. There's going to be some things they got to figure out, certainly in spring ball and going into the season in terms of some positions. But this looks like a veteran team primed to have that kind of breakthrough. And they have been scratching at the surface these last couple of years, getting ever so close to not only winning the Big 12, but getting into the playoff. And I think this year, especially with Notre Dame coming to town, a big marquee opponent, they've got the schedule to get over the hump and be a playoff team this year, especially given the way and the direction that Kalani has that program going.
Bryan, this is Matt Wells here. How you doing?
Doing well, Matt.
Good. Hey, let me ask you and just throw this out to you. You're a guy that's on the national scene in college football and all the Power 4 leagues. Give us a little bit of an idea with your conversations, probably on the record and off the record, just your view on the college football landscape and the calendar and some things that are going on. Where does it lie in maybe making it less chaotic for everybody involved and maybe a little bit more uniform in terms of your perspective?
Yeah, I think if you had to say what is the kind of big off-season conversation really these next couple of months, there's several NCAA committees kind of devoted to this that are studying this and debating this. I think really industry-wide, whether it's ADs, commissioners, certainly coaches, everybody's kind of getting to the point where they have ideas on the calendar, and I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're talking about those ideas, and eventually there will be some movement. I know there's been certainly a lot of talk in terms of the calendar itself maybe moving up in terms of week 0. I think we're probably not quite ready to kind of commit to that. I think at this point, I think there are going to be some conversations with the broadcast partners that will have some impact on that I know a lot of the commissioners are keeping top of mind. But, look, I think that is the thing that everybody's going to be talking about really the next 6 to 8 months. I think really leading into the season, it's going to be what does this league think of things, and where do you want the transfer portals and what windows are go where. And so I think that's going to be really driving the conversation this offseason. We've kind of gone away. We've kind of at least had some sort of stability in terms of NIL and bring in the CSC and all that stuff. So I think now it really will turn that attention to what do the Power 4 leagues in particular kind of want in terms of the football calendar, and how does that impact everything else?
Yeah, certainly the TV guys, as we all know, and those executives in terms of television have a huge say in college football as we all know it. What's the appetite for the playoffs, do you think, out there? Is there anything that can get done this summer? Do you think it'll get expanded, or are we going to stay the same? What's the landscape right now for that?
Yeah, I feel like we're on the same hamster wheel, and this has really been the case, I would say, for the last even longer than 6 months at this point. I think if you had to kind of poll a lot of the conferences, in terms of kind of just the general tenor of what they view the playoffs should be, I would say 90% of them out there are going to say, let's go ahead and move to 16. Let's add a couple of more first round games, maybe tweak the calendar a little bit in terms of where those are played and everything going on kind of in those early rounds. At least include a little bit more teams and kind of move that cut line, if you will, towards playoff inclusion a little bit further back. But at the end of the day, this is a Big Ten and SEC decision, and that's where the fracture is. And so I don't see the Big Ten giving in at this point. Maybe somebody can get to Tony Petitti and kind of shake him loose of all these terrible ideas like going to 24 teams. But at this point, they're pretty dug in the Big Ten, and so I think that kind of says, look, we're kind of going with the status quo right now, and until the Big Ten at least wants to come to the table, start compromising, talk with the SEC, and really get on the same page as the rest of college football. I don't see much movement, honestly, and I think we're going to be set at 12 for the foreseeable future as a result.
I don't pretend to know what the driving force is behind their reluctance to do that. But, like, as coaches look at it, and I know certainly from my experience, I look at it and go, man, the state of Texas has 16 playoff games. They'll play 16 until they crown a champion right around Christmas time, right, in the state of Texas. And they'll have one bye week. And you look at the FCS playoffs. I mean, why can't we get this thing to be crowned a champion right around the 1st of January, and maybe we start a week early and you still have one bye week, but to expand the playoffs, I guess that's mainly what a lot of coaches I know that I've talked to see, because you literally see it being done right now at other levels, and so I think that's certainly a big. I think that's a big thing in the coaches right now, or a lot of coaches around the country, is why can't we expand just a little bit and back this thing up and get this thing to end, so then you can have a portal window and at least some semblance. Now, what you can't control is when coaches, are fired and hired and all that, right, in December. But my goodness, I mean, like, game planning for a playoff game and conference championship games and portal and this and that. And, I mean, it's all coming, at the same time. But, man, I know that there's a huge appetite in everybody's mind in college football to get this calendar right, Bryan.
Well, yeah, and I think it's really going to kind of come to a head, this season. I think as we kind of live this year, obviously we're going back to more of a single bye week compared to the last couple of years where we've had two. So I think that's going to reinforce it, certainly with a lot of coaches for sure. But I think it will come to a head with the administrators dealing with the complaints from their coaches, certainly hearing it from their fans when injuries might crop up and have a bad season. And I think truly when we get into December and January, because of those long layoffs, I mean, I think you kind of already heard it, those complaints last year and this past season in terms of, all right, it's too long between the semifinals and the quarterfinals. Well, this year it's even longer. We're going to go back to January 25th to play the national title game. Even the Super Bowl is moving back to essentially this weekend, next year. So you're going to hear plenty of complaints, and I think it is going to kind of come to a head for a lot of folks and really register more than just kind of seeing it happen on the little calendar in front of them. It's going to register, as they get tired and as they kind of understand that, hey, something's got to change, and we kind of got to go back to how the sport was much more of a one-semester sport, in decades past.
Well, Bryan, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, and let's do it again here soon.
Absolutely. Great to jump on with you guys.
There he is, Bryan Fischer from Sports Illustrated, covering college athletics. All right, it really feels like, Coach, and Matt Wells joins us. Coach, it feels like coaches, if you just got a bunch of coaches in a room, you guys could figure this out pretty quick.
Well, I think we certainly have our ideas, but make no mistake about it, the people with TV, that's where the dollars are, in the administrations, and certainly there's people that know things that coaches don't know, and I think they're privy to things like that. But, you look at a simple calendar and you see it done in Texas and you see it done in the FCS, and why can't we do it? And so I think that's a take from a lot of coaches. I don't speak on behalf of everybody, but I know that that's a general consensus around there. That, I mean, January 25th for the Natty. Yeah. I mean, that's like, let's get this thing going and move on to next year.
And you got like 3 games being played over the span of 5 weeks.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like we're collectively dumber than we are on our own. It's just it seems like there's easy solutions out there, but you're right though. You know what? When ESPN and Fox and everybody else says, we're cutting you some rather large checks, and you're going to do what we tell you to do, you kind of have to step in line. Yeah. God bless America.
God bless it.
Hey, so as we talk about college football and we get ready for the start of the upcoming season and spring ball, what's this time of year like for a college football program when you're the start of the semester, but spring ball's still about a month or two away? What's going on right now?
So February for all programs right now is these guys are getting back in the office. They are looking at self-scouts from last year. They're watching their tape from last year. It's good, bad, and the ugly. What are we keeping? What are we going to improve on? What are we throwing away? What are we throwing away? What are we adding? Looking at volume. A brand new staff, like we just talked about, At Utah, not so much. It's more installation. And so you have early morning runs, early morning lifts. The players are lifting, they're running, they're meeting voluntarily a lot.
Yeah.
They're in off-season workouts. Yeah. But they are. It's a time of installation. It's a time of, coordinators installing and teaching the rest of the coaches and the staff. And so you're in that time of February to the middle of March, and that's pretty. I think it's pretty common is what I was going to say for everybody. That's it. And then the other thing that they're doing is a lot of them are doing professional development. They're going out and visiting an NFL staff or other college staffs that maybe they don't play in that or a different league, and it's a defensive staff wanting to add a 3 safety scheme or a 3 down scheme into in a 3rd down package. It's offense wanting to add or improve the red zone package. So who was really good in red zone, you may go visit that team. So a lot of those opportunities, I think, going on right now at this time of the year.
I remember you told me, a few years ago, probably a lot of years ago, that Valentine's Day as a head coach was kind of your date where you felt like if you get past that day, your staff was going to be in place.
Pretty much.
Is that still the case, or is it?
Yeah. No, I think so. But, just flipping through Twitter this morning, you see some guys I just saw the SMU DCs going to the NFL, and so now Rhett Lashley, my friend, I'm replacing a DC right in the middle of February. Now, if he has an internal candidate, a lot smoother transition, but I still stand by that. If you get to Valentine's Day as a head coach, usually high percentage you're going to retain that staff. Outside of maybe some young coaches or a young GA getting a chance to move on, maybe if there's some transition other places in the spring. But typically, most Division I schools in NFL, there's not going to be much transition after this time.
I want to be careful how I say this because obviously I'm not asking you to comment on the situation, but it seems like every now and then there's a weird situation that pops up, whether it's Michigan or maybe Petrino or something like that, and the ramifications and the dominoes that will come from that. Kyle goes to Michigan, and then all of a sudden, you see everything being changed here. Like one little move the ripple effect can be just incredible in college football.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the same in business, but that's my profession, that's my business, and I think coaches look at it, and when you're out of a job, you're always looking at it a little bit closer, Scotty, and you're like, okay, well, you start seeing the ripple effect, and so certainly as big a job as Utah and Michigan are, that was a big ripple effect that affected a lot of coaches and their lives and their families and support staff and strength coaches. And let's keep the players in mind. So now it changes the players' dynamic in terms of a recruit or a transfer portal kid that was maybe going to follow that coach or that assistant coach. And so there's always those dominoes. And when a coach is out in the industry or the profession, you actually but you like for those things to happen because it does create jobs and it creates openings because there's a huge ripple effect behind them.
That's Matt Wells coming up. By the way, I did not ask your permission on this.
What?
But I did just tweet out that you were joining the program. And next segment, I'm making you the commissioner of all things college athletics. All right? You are judge and jury.
Oh, geez.
Executioner. You can remake things the way you want. Also, I said if you got questions for Coach, tweet at me, and I will pass on the best ones to you. So it'll be kind of an open segment. Coach gets to remake all of college athletics.
Promotion.
Stop it, Lloyd. Turn that mic on. See that on-off switch there? Let's do it.
Coming up. All down there on the field?
Killing me. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What about punting? How in punting, how is there – we just see the guy kick the ball. What details go into punting in situational football?
I don't even know where we're at. We're talking about punting. Let's go on to something else.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is the coach, Matt Wells, hanging out with us, offensive coordinator at Kansas State last year, head coach at Utah State and Texas Tech, and has been a staple coaching here in the state of Utah, coaching against teams in the state of Utah for a long time. He's our honorary co-host of the day, the friend of the show. The friend of the show. All right, so I put it out on Twitter. If you got a question for Coach, let me know, and I'll pass them on to you. And so you can remember, this is just like a normal interview. You can go no comment if you want on some of these.
Yeah, but
right?
that's not fair. I mean, come on.
All right.
I mean, you tell coaches that all the time. You can say no comment, but if they say no comment, then A, they're guilty or you get blasted, right? So you need a comment. All right, go for it.
All right.
This better be good, too.
The first one coming in from 801 Sports. How crazy was that game against Utah last year where your offense goes for 400 yards rushing? Have you ever had a game where you've gone for 400 yards and lost?
Well, it wasn't 400. It was 470-something.
But who's counting? 470 yards rushing against the Utah defense, yeah. Actually, I'm just looking at the box score. It's 472.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is no, I haven't. That's crazy. Man, we had a 10-point lead and lost it in the fourth quarter. That one hurt.
Yeah.
Because I just, so much respect for Utah and their program, and I know how hard it is to play in Rice-Eccles, and haven't won in there very many times, ever. Like, that would have been the first one for me personally, and as a player and as an assistant coach and a head coach, hard place to play. The muss is real. It's a real thing, and they're always good, and we ran the ball well that day, and our guys played well, and Utah found a way to come back and beat us in the fourth quarter.
When you look at a game like that and things are clicking, as an offensive coordinator, are there moments where you feel like you can't make a bad play call? Like you just feel like you're in a groove? Like players talk about being in the zone. Can you be in the zone as a play caller?
Yeah, I think you can. Just like a player, and that was a game where and again, just like any game though, it's never a perfect play call. You can have a perfect play call and not execute it. That was on our players, and I give them all the credit. And they played well, and we ran the ball hard, and I thought we blocked on the perimeter well. And again, just like I always said when I was a head coach, I mean, we scored 47 that day, and it wasn't enough. We needed to find a way to score 52 or 53 or whatever one more touchdown is. We didn't score enough that day, and we didn't stay on the field the last series, and had we stayed on the field, we'd have found a way to win, and that's how I think, and that's how I'll always look at it.
You've been around some great quarterbacks. Obviously, you found Jordan Love and coached him up to where he's at now, and you've got Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma that you helped coach, and then Avery Johnson. What was special about Avery? Because he was a gamer too.
Avery's very similar to both those guys you just mentioned, and I think very similar in this way. Tremendous intellect for the game, football junkies. All three of them in their own way, study tape, don't ever need to be told to come into the building extra. They get it. Tremendous rapport in the locker room. Those are all the intangibles that I see that Avery had, just like Dylan and just like Jordan. Different skill sets on the field. Arm talent-wise, I don't know if I'll coach another one ever as good as Jordan.
Was that what really jumped out at you when you first saw him?
Jordan has such great arm talent. He's a strong enough arm. It's accurate, but he's able to layer balls over the second level, and he can throw with anticipation. We call him an anticipatory thrower, but he can anticipate. Dylan Gabriel was like a freaking surgeon. I mean, this dude he threw a tight spiral, a lot of RPMs. Could throw in the wind very, very well, very, very accurate. And then I'm going to coach another 10 years, but I'm sure Jen's counting. But I'll never coach one at probably any faster than Avery. I mean, that kid can flat fly. I mean, he's a low 4.3. He's 22-point-something miles an hour, real talk. Like the guy, if he gets loose in the Big 12, he can hit a home run. The guys in the DBs won't catch him. He can flat run. And I know he got caught right down the street here on an angle, but he can get out and run. And so they all had different physical, a prowess about them in different ways. But I think intellectually and emotionally they were very, very similar.
When you're recruiting a quarterback, do you look at just the skill set and say, okay, I'm going to adapt to him, or I'm going to find guys that fit what I want to do?
No, I think probably a little bit of both, but I think nowadays you have to have – I don't know if every kid needs to be deemed a dual threat, but they have to have some escapability. They've got to be able to escape the pocket. They've got to be able to move in the pocket, and that's, I think, can be taught to some degree, but the escapability and stuff, they've got to be able to maneuver. And if you look at any of the great quarterbacks, even the ones in the league, look at Sam Darnold. Would you think Sam Darnold, the Super Bowl champion right now, would you talk about him being a mobile or a dual threat guy? No. Nope. But his best throws last weekend were when he moved in the pocket, and it's ever so slightly moving and finding a way to deliver a ball. You could see that. I mean, Drake May can throw it on the run, and he can move. I mean, obviously you got Pat and Jordan and Josh Allen and all these guys. They all have an ability to either have that comment, oh, he's more athletic than you think, but they have escapability, and I think you have to have that in terms of movement for a quarterback. We could go on and on about all the quarterback capabilities. That's what you were asking about, and so you do have to have it. I also think you have to adapt to the quarterback's strengths and where those are. And you just talk about the three that I've been around for the last three stops for me, not counting Texas Tech. And I had Tyler Shuck, he started the last half of the year at the Saints, and then Baron Morton, who's going to get drafted. And they're all different. And you do have to adapt to their strengths, which goes back to, let's talk about A-Rod. I thought he really adapted to Bear's strengths and did a really good job with him and putting him in great positions.
Another question rolling in. If you could, and we talked about you being the commissioner of all things college football.
That would never happen.
If you could rewrite the targeting rule, how would you do it?
Oh, you caught me off guard there. I don't know if I'd mess with that one because I think players have adapted, and I think coaches have adapted in the way they've coached it and they've taught it. I still think when anything is low, when you're talking about literally 4 feet off the ground and guys are making a play on the ball, and I'm an offensive guy by trade and by nature, but when a defender's going down and they're going, it's 3 feet off the ground, yeah, you're going to hit the guy in the side of the helmet. I mean, it happens all the time. That's the one that I think we have a hard time with. But anything up that's high or up in the air, I think we've done a good job. Well, not me, but the coaching industry in terms of coaching that better. And I think players have adapted to it.
I just feel bad because, I mean, there's sometimes asking an official to try to decipher intent may not be fair for them. But there's sometimes where it's letter of the law. It's contact to the head, but the intent wasn't there.
Right.
And yet that kid's going to miss a half or the first half of the next game, and you just feel sick for him.
I think a lot of those situations are low to the ground in the intent, And so that's my take on it.
Another one. What are the biggest benefits you think Utah State will have in part of the rebuilt Pac-12?
Well, I think you have a lot of same-as.
Yeah.
You have a lot of same-as programs. Okay, first of all, they all have state behind them, right?
Yep.
State schools. But I think you have, outside of maybe Texas State and outside of Washington State and Oregon State, I mean, you have a lot of natural rivalries. I mean, Fresno State and Utah State have been playing for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Colorado State, right? San Diego State once we got into the Mountain West. So you have some rivalries there, and Boise State, let's not forget them, that are naturally built in. But you have a lot, it's a good coaches. It's going to be a good league. I wish they'd add another member so you don't have to have that flex game at the end. And so maybe they can add another member to get that right. But, man, it'll be a good league.
There's another one rolling in asking about the urban legend. Did you have to save a coach from fainting in the middle of a game?
That's an old Aggie that wrote that in.
Yeah.
Yep, that was Bill Bush, and that was in Hawaii.
So this is true.
That's a true story. If that's what they're referring to, I can't think of another one. That's the first one that comes to my mind. I was in the box. Coach Bush was coaching our safeties. We were in the box, and that was the night Chucky got hit. Concussed.
The Adam Kennedy game.
Yep. Had to go to the hospital. My brother-in-law, in fact, lives in Hawaii. He goes over and visits him in the hospital, if you believe that or not. It's an addendum to that story. But Adam Kennedy comes in, and Turbin went off. Robert Turbin had a great second half, and we came back, and and won, and that's the game where Adam scored and flipped and did the helicopter right into the end zone, and the last kick of the game they do the Cal Stanford, right, flip it back, and we were in the box, and it was an open air box in Hawaii, and we were both up, and you're just so emotionally involved and you're in it, and Bill tensed up and literally just I guess he passed out in my arms, and Bill's a big man, and I slowly lowered him to the ground, and then he finally came back, and we walked down the ramp, and we were happy Aggies that night.
Wow.
But actually true story.
When did you overlapped with Bobby Wagner, right?
Yeah, 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
Did you know Bobby was going to be what he ended up being?
No. And anybody nobody can say that. I'm so proud of Bobby Wagner. Who isn't? I mean, there's another one-offer guy.
Yeah.
Turbin, I just talked about. Turbin was a two-offer guy. He had an offer to go to Cal as a DB. But Bobby Wagner, that was Brent Guy, signed him, played for Gary most of the time in his career. But, man, I will tell you when it hit us is, not a lot of people know this story, but Bobby had the flu or pneumonia or something like that. Bobby was sick when the combine came around, and he had an invite to the combine, and we all know there's not a ton of Utah State guys that get combine invites, at least up until that point. And so Coach Anderson did a great job and had another pro day for him later on where a lot of the scouts and coaches came, and Bobby ran back-to-back low 4.4s in that day in the indoor up in Logan, and we all looked at each other and said, cha-ching, ching. The guy just got paid and obviously got taken in the second round. But to say he's he's the top 10, I think he's like 6th or 7th on the top 10 career tackles in the NFL.
He's a first ballot guy, easy.
It's so awesome. And how cool was that to see him with the Man of the Year award? What a speech the night before or whenever it was. But it was cool for me to see because I saw a picture on Twitter of when he was accepting the award. Jordan was right behind him.
Yeah.
And so you got two Aggies that were the recipients of the Man of the Year, if I'm saying that right, NFL Man of the Year for their respective teams. Obviously, Bobby won the NFL, but to have Jordan standing right behind him, you got two Aggie alums right there in the 32 is a proud moment for all of us.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
That's cool.
It was
That's way cool.
Really cool moment. Let's see. We got another one coming in here. Your favorite game coaching at Utah State?
Oh, man. So many of them.
Can I tell you one that doesn't come up a lot, but I was always super impressed with? The bowl game against Northern Illinois.
Well, that's, Jordan Lynch had just come from the Heisman ceremony, and that was the top 25 win. You always remember the top 25 wins. The other two were BYU. Not that I remember all three of them, but I do. But no, to beat them 21-14 in the Poinsettia Bowl. Rod Carey, head coach at Northern Illinois at the time, who's a good friend of mine. That was a great win for us. Awesome. I would say the win in Provo in 2014 when BYU was a top 25 team and had again another backup quarterback, Darryl Garrettson, and we were big underdogs and we won 35-20, and not that I remember that, but I do exactly. I think I'm right on that one. The win in Provo in 17 and in 2018. I know, you beat BYU in back-to-back years in 2017, 2018, and I say it all the time to my buddies and coaches that have come through Utah State. That wagon wheel was in the Lob Complex when we left, and that was a source of pride for all of us, is that wagon wheel. So I think the 3 wins in my 6 years there against BYU, the 2015 Boise State win when we had 7 turnovers. Of course, we only beat BYU once. I'm not real proud of that, but
Boise once.
My bad. I am proud of the win. I'm not proud that we didn't beat them more than once, but that win in 2015 was huge. Fackrell and Jalen Davis and Marwin Evans and all the turnovers we had that night, that was a big win. I remember the 2012, and I was the coordinator. Dave Aranda, who's the head coach at Baylor now, was the defense coordinator. We beat Utah in Logan in overtime. I know I wasn't the head coach, Gary was, but that was a big win for that. That's a big program win up there. And so been a part of a lot of those good wins.
How much fun is it watching Dave Aranda and what he's been able to do? And I know it's been kind of up and down a little bit in Baylor, but he's just a heck of a coach.
Yeah, he's a really good coach. He's the wizard on defense. And Dave's a good friend, and I wish him nothing but the best. And we've got to compete against him. The years that I was, a couple of the years that I was at Texas Tech, my daughter now works for him down there, and so I wish him nothing but the best. But he's an excellent coach, and they're going to have a good year. I know a lot of those guys on the staff, and I think they're going to rebound and have a good year.
Another one rolling in. Do you anticipate that the NFL kickoff rules will come to college?
Probably, yeah, because I think if the safety, and I don't pretend to know the answer right now or what the study will show, but I know so much of it was player health in the injuries. If they show reduced amounts of injuries, certainly kickoff return is a huge. When you talk about that, it falls in that player safety area. In concussions and those kind of injuries. If those numbers are down in the NFL, I would certainly say that you could probably see that coming in some sort of fashion to college football.
This is kind of like Kyle Whittingham used to say this all the time, and I still think it's probably true, but he goes, there's going to come a moment where your P4s and maybe even the Big Ten and the SEC just separate from everybody. But the P4, or maybe they form a 60-team Super League, and everybody else is on the outside looking in. Do you see that coming down the line?
I don't know. That's been floated around for a long time, and it hasn't happened yet. I would have thought it would have happened by now, so maybe that ship has sailed. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, one more segment with Coach Wells coming up next. We'll wrap up this bad boy. It's a quick 3 hours, right?
Oh, it's fun.
I know,
this
right?
Is good.
It's can't even call it working.
Just talking ball.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, wrapping up another edition of the show. Big thanks to everyone who hung out with us. No more than Matt Wells, though. We can't thank you enough for being a part of the show. And, we got to do this again sometime.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
I know you're only in for a couple days, but next time you're in town, you let me know, and we'll make it happen.
We'll be back in a few weeks, I think. But another gymnastics, I think maybe for the Big 12s.
Okay.
When the Big 12s aren't they here? Yeah. You should know. Come on.
We don't really break down a lot of gymnastics on the show.
Well, I guess I'm not getting paid anything today, am I? I was going to say I don't get paid to plug the Red Rocks, but dang it, they're good. Those ladies can can compete, and I don't know if it's the holy war tonight, but man, I've got so much respect for those gymnasts and those ladies, and it is, man, what they put their bodies through in that sport, and it's crazy. They're tough. They're tough chicks. I know that.
Yeah. Coach, thanks so much, man.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
Scotty. Appreciate you, man.
That's Matt Wells. Have a great weekend. Back with you on Tuesday right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.